Hello YouTube. I am back with a brand new video for the latest piece that I've received. This is the XM Studios Cyclops premium format figure in quarter scale. And this is version B, which has the torso and head that you see in front of you, as well as the second torso and a screaming portrait where he's shooting his blast up into the sky, and I'll show you that one a little bit later. But I figured I'd start with this one and before I make the swap outs. And out of the box, it was very easy to assemble. It was all in one box, very manageable to carry too. So I'm very happy to see that from how XM has kind of scaled back a little bit on the size of their bases and the size of the boxes. I mean, it saves on shipping, it saves on storage, and it makes it easier for collectors to display the statue. Especially with a statue, I don't know how most of you are, but with me, my collection, I try to have a theme, and where Cyclops is a member of the X-Men, I try to display him with other X-Men. I don't typically have too many standalone pieces. I do, but I mean, if the character's especially known for being part of a team, when you're talking about the Avengers and the X-Men, it's like, then I tend to display those statues together, and these smaller bases make that easier. Alright, so let's get a little closer to this one, and we'll get to some of the details of the piece. As you can see, they did I call it the classic, but this is the Jim Lee style uniform of Cyclops, which is one of my favorites. I think the Astonishing X-Men is probably my favorite one. But I remember when this first came out, I thought it was cool. I'm a child of the 80s, and I remember reading this as a late teen in the 90s, and still thought it was pretty cool. This one doesn't have the leather bomber jacket on it, but it's got all the pouches, which was a thing back in the 90s, I guess. And XM wasn't 100% faithful to the comic accuracy of the piece, which I'm okay with. I actually like when artists and companies put their own spin on things, but as long as they're staying faithful to the source material, which this does. I mean, anyone that looks at this and has read the comics would know that this is a Jim Lee inspired Cyclops. But getting into the portrait, which is, again, like I said before, it's one of the most important pieces to me. This looks like Scott Summers' Cyclops to me, especially in the Jim Lee era. They did a nice job with the hair, which is actually removable because there's a battery in there that this visor will light up. But this one did actually have a bit of that QC issue with it, where the hairpiece was riding up a little bit because there's a magnet in the back, which I can show you here underneath the head, that sticks to the rest of the head, and it pushes the hair up in the front. So it's an easy fix. I've just put a piece of cardboard back there to prevent it from pulling the hair back, and it looks fine. But I mean, you really shouldn't honestly have to do that when you're paying this kind of money for a piece like this. I mean, it was like a QC miss on their part, and it's only about a 1/4 inch, but it makes a big difference. I mean, he's either got a big forehead or it looks relatively normal here now. The visor is XM inspired. They went with more of a gold metallic paint on the visor, which admittedly I was not a fan of at first. I remember in some of the Facebook groups is saying, like, I wish they would keep the yellow the same as, like, the yellow in the belts and his gloves, his boots, to kind of keep it all consistent like the comic. But I have to say that it doesn't look bad actually in person. I'm actually probably happy to admit that I'm probably wrong about this. So this, I think, looks pretty good. I like how with the engineering, they've got his finger on the visor, like the button. I don't think he actually needs that anymore to control his optic blast. I think he can control it without hitting his visor like that. But just back in the 90s, I think he did. You do that sometimes. You can see in the paint looks very good. I do see a bit of a difference. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but between his face below the visor and the forehead. I mean, the face below looks good. He's got that 5 o'clock shadow, and there's a little bit of red in his cheeks and skin there. And in the forehead, it seems to be a little plainer. It looks flatter, really. It looks almost like a lighter, like just a whitish, off-white color. It's being super picky, but it's something that I kind of noticed. So I want to be as unbiased as possible in these reviews, because I do have a lot of XM pieces and I do like them, but I don't like everything that they do, honestly. They've hit some missteps, and so I'll try to point that out as I go through this piece. In terms of the torso, I like the sculpt on this. I love the fact that they did some texturing in darker colors to kind of break up the blue. And they put some like piping in there as well. It gives it a lot more detail, makes it pop a little more, it makes it a little bit more realistic in my opinion. And I like this mix of comic accuracy with realism in the pieces. I mean, there's a sideshow version of Cyclops, which doesn't look bad, but it looks a little too comic-y. There's not a lot of detail in it. To me, honestly, it looks like they rushed to get that out, but I don't know. But there's not a whole lot of detail. There's no texturing in the suit, and it seems pretty almost cartoony, especially like the optic blast coming out of his visor and stuff. But they've done that with some of their other pieces as well, like the Jean Grey and the Cable. So it's just a style that they're going for, I guess, that, you know, it's not one of my favorites. But I will say that my X-Men collection does have a mix of both sideshow and XM pieces in here. So it's a good time to be an X-Men fan, because you can kind of pick and choose the ones you like to build your X-Men team. Down below we have his belt, which has got all the pouches, as well as the belt buckle, the X on the belt buckle, which all looks good, painted very well. One thing, I know some other reviews have pointed this out as well, and I've noticed it, and you can see it from the side angle, is his harness, the belt harness on his chest, it's all one piece, and you can see like right here, like there should be daylight there. It's not like this harness is attached to his chest, but I know for sculpting purposes they had to fill all that space in, I guess, where it's all sculpted. If it was a mixed media piece, they could probably have done it. So it looks a little weird from the side, but I'm not going to be displaying it that way, so you're not going to necessarily see it. But I know some other people have pointed out too that it's something that is a little weird. I mean, they could have at least painted it maybe that bluish, darker color so it didn't stick out as much. Then he's got his gloves. He's got the buckles and texturing on the gloves as well as some shading. I mean, fantastic details. He's got the yellow underwear, which doesn't bother me at all. I know some people get all bent out of shape over that. Looks fine to me. He's got these leg straps, which he did have in his Jim Lee costume as well, but without the texturing. I think it looks cool with the texturing on there, and these little buckles or buttons, really, I guess. But and then you get the same on the boots. And that's pretty much the piece, version A of the piece. Going to the base before I swap out the torsos. Pretty basic base, but it's Sentinel inspired. You get some Sentinel pieces there, which is nice because most X-Men pieces have a Sentinel base of some sort, so you get that uniformity. And he's got this tower, or what's left of a tower, I assume it's a tower, behind him that has been sheared off by some sort of heat source, which I assume is his optic blast, but it's up to you to decide, I guess. So I think that is just about everything on the base. I mean, there's a lot of detail with the wiring. There's the scratches, which could be from Wolverine. All right. let me pause it here for a bit and swap out the torso and the head sculpt. I lied. I wanted to show the light up feature first before I swap out the head and torso. So here's the visor lit up. I actually turned the lights off just so it would show up a little better on camera. Nice effect. I like it. There's no bleed through of the light effect. Looks very clean. Maybe if they had it more brighter and around where his eyes are supposed to be, it'd be cooler, but it's okay. I actually kind of like it having it disperse more evenly like that. Okay, now I will swap out the head and torso to version B. Okay, I'm back and I've swapped out the torso and head sculpt to version B, which is the screaming portrait. And what's that? What are you screaming, Scott? Where's my Cyclops metal plate? Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I didn't have one in mind. I don't know how those get handed out. I thought it was the first 300 or so that ordered get one, which I thought I would be in that range because I usually pre-order my stuff early, but who knows? That's one thing that does kind of rankle with me a little bit. It's a miss on XM's part, I think, to do something silly like that. Because I mean, it is a silly piece, honestly, but if you get it, you're just like, great, and if you don't get it, you're like pissed off. And I'm not pissed, but I am annoyed. But back to the statue. So the statue piece is actually, it's actually real easy to swap out the head and the torso. Actually, the torso connects here with a peg, and the head sculpt is there. The hair comes off this piece as well, and it lights up. And the hair piece on this one did not need any adjusting. It actually fits perfectly. And this is my preferred display option. I love the just the rage or the anger that he has in this. I mean, he's got his great detail on the sculpt. The mouth looks great. I mean, the tongue looks actually wet. So XM did a nice job on that. He's still got his perfect hair. And then he's got the belt, which his back's arced a little more. Let's see if we have that space. So you don't have the space between the harness and the chest now, which you wouldn't because he's sticking it out more, so there's less space there. So it looks a little better on this piece. Like I said, if you were going to display from the side, which I'm not going to. But it looks, I like it better like this because I think on my display, he's going to be displayed a little lower, and with version A, he is kind of looking down more. With version B, he's actually looking up. And so you can get away with displaying them lower. I think with version A, you have to display them at least eye height or maybe a little higher just to fully appreciate the piece. This guy, you could have closer to the floor and still appreciate it. Actually, probably looks better lower because then you can be kind of looking down on it like this, which I think is a cool angle. Again, great job with the engineering. I think it looks, proportion-wise, it looks fine to me. I'm not an anatomy major though, like some of these reviewers are, or some of these forum people are. But I think there was some scuttlebutt about thinking that the legs looked too short, maybe it was too long. I don't know. I don't pay attention to too much of that. To me, it looks fine. I mean, it looks like a normal anatomy to me. He's probably a little more jacked than he usually is, but back in the 90s, everyone got jacked. I mean, his nickname is Slim, because he was always on the slender side, and he's not exactly, maybe he's not jacked, but he does have, he started working out, I guess, in the late 80s, early 90s, when the artists started drawing him, along with everybody else, so all the superheroes went into the same training program, I guess. Okay, let me pause it here, let me put the light up feature on, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, and I'm back, got the light up feature on. Turn the lights off to try and let it show up a little better. And again, it's a very clean effect. There's no no light bleed like above or below the mask or through his skin at all, which is nice. So very well done piece overall. I mean, like I said, some hiccups with the paint apps around the harness, but that's more on version A. And then also on version A, the hairpiece, it needed some adjusting. I put like a little shim of cardboard in so that his hairline would stay down. Other than that, those are probably like the only flaws or negative aspects other than that card that's missing that I won't say any more about. But overall, I like the coloring. I like the sculpt. The pose I think looks really good. I like the simple base, and I'll be looking forward to receiving some other X-Men pieces from both Sideshow and XM in the future to finish out my X-Men collection. All right, thanks for watching, guys and girls, if you are watching as well. And leave me some comments if you have any ideas for improving these videos in the future. Thanks a lot. Actually, one last thing before I sign off is you do get the extra torso and head. You get a display stand for it, which is a simple X. And either torso can go on here. I think in the instructions it said only the Screaming torso could. I think it looks better on there because you get this angle to it, but you can put this one on here as well so that you can actually display this either with the statue or somewhere else instead of having like the extra piece in storage or keeping it in the box, which I think that's a nice effect because it's essentially like a mini bust, really, this piece. And we've got the whole upper torso and his head. So nice piece. Hopefully that's something that XM and maybe even some of the other companies could consider doing for some pieces in the future. Okay, now I'm done, guys, and this time I mean it. So thanks for watching, and let me know what you think.